Lieutenant Jack Morris stared at the radar screen inside his patrol ship. The small blip shouldn't be there. He checked the coordinates again and frowned. Nothing was scheduled to be in this sector near Jupiter's orbit today. Europa base, this is Morris. I'm picking up something strange out here. Unknown signature about 50,000 kilometers from my position. Definitely not one of ours. The radio crackled. Copy that, Lieutenant. Can you get visual confirmation? Attempting now. Jack adjusted his course, pushing his engines to maximum burn. The year was 2089, and humanity had spread throughout the solar system. Mars had thriving colonies. The moons of Jupiter hosted research stations and military outposts. Jack had been stationed at Europa base for 3 years now, running patrols and escort missions. Never once had he encountered anything like this. As his ship drew closer, Jack saw it. The vessel was unlike any human craft. It had a dark, curved hull that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Strange protrusions extended from its sides like metallic fins or perhaps weapons. The ship was massive, at least 3 times. The size of Earth's largest space cruiser. Europa base, I have visual. You're not going to believe this. Jack transmitted the images back to base. The vessel appears damaged. There's some kind of energy discharge coming from its port side. The response from base came quickly. Hold position, Lieutenant. Do not approach. Repeat, do not approach. Reinforcements are on the way. Jack kept his distance, continuing to circle and observe. The massive ship drifted silently. Occasionally, bursts of strange blue energy pulsed along its hull. For 3 hours, Jack maintained his vigil until the research vessel Armstrong arrived, carrying a first contact team assembled in haste. Dr. Amy Woods was the first to contact him. Lieutenant Morris, this is Dr. Woods. I'm leading the xenobiology team. We need your escort to approach the vessel. Jack guided his ship alongside the Armstrong. Dr. Woods and her team had already donned their EVA suits. She was in her mid-30s, with short brown hair visible through her helmet visor and a focused expression that suggested she'd been preparing for this moment her entire career. This is incredible, she said over the comlink. Do you realize what this means? First contact, Lieutenant. The first confirmed extraterrestrial intelligence. If they're intelligent, Jack replied. And if they're friendly, Amy smiled. Always the optimist, aren't you? Their approach was cautious. 3 smaller shuttles detached from the Armstrong, carrying the first contact team. Jack's patrol ship took point, leading the formation. They transmitted every known peaceful greeting signal as they approached. The alien vessel remained silent and still. No response to our hails, Jack reported. Still no signs of activity. They were 5 kilometers from the alien craft when everything changed. A pulse of blue energy suddenly erupted from the previously dark hull. The damaged section they had observed earlier glowed brilliantly, then fired a beam of energy directly at the Armstrong. Evasive maneuvers, Jack shouted. But it was too late. The energy beam struck the research vessel, not destroying it but somehow disabling it. The Armstrong went dark, drifting helplessly. Get back to your shuttles, Amy yelled to her team. We need to retreat. 2 more energy beams lanced out from the alien ship. The first struck one of the shuttles, causing it to explode instantly. The second missed Jack's ship by meters. Woods, get to my ship now. Jack called over the emergency channel. Amy and 2 of her team managed to redirect their course toward Jack's patrol vessel. As they approached his airlock, another energy beam struck one of the remaining shuttles. Jack watched in horror as it was not destroyed but captured, pulled toward the alien vessel by some kind of energy net. Hurry! Amy made it to his airlock, but her 2 colleagues were caught in another energy net and dragged away. Jack sealed the airlock the moment Amy was inside. The others, Amy began. We can't help them now, Jack said, firing his engines to maximum. We need to warn Europa base. As they retreated, they watched through the rear cameras as strange mechanical appendages extended from the alien ship. These devices methodically captured the disabled Armstrong, pulling it inside the larger vessel like a predator consuming prey. They're hunting us, Amy whispered, her face pale as she removed her helmet. This wasn't first contact. This was an ambush. Jack pushed his engines beyond safety limits, weaving through Jupiter's orbital debris field to throw off pursuit. They found shelter in the shadow of a large asteroid and killed all non-essential power. What are they? Jack asked after they'd been hiding for hours. Amy shook her head. I don't know, but they came prepared to capture our ships, not destroy them. That suggests they want something from us. Or they want us, Jack said grimly. Their sensors detected the alien vessel moving away from Jupiter's orbit. It accelerated to impossible speeds, then simply vanished, leaving behind a brief flash of what looked like distorted space. A wormhole, Amy said. They can create artificial wormholes. Jack reactivated their comms system. Europa Base, this is Lieutenant Morris. We have an emergency situation. The alien vessel was hostile. The Armstrong and all contact shuttles have been captured. Dr. Woods and I are the only survivors. The response was not what they expected. Lieutenant, return to base immediately. We've lost contact with the Ganymede colony. All of it. 3,000 people just gone. Jack and Amy exchanged horrified looks. It's starting, isn't it? Amy asked quietly. Jack nodded, setting course for Europa Base. Yes, and we're not ready. Over the next 3 days, 2 more outer colonies went silent. Earth governments declared a global emergency. Military forces throughout the solar system were put on high alert, but it was already too late. The hunters had found humanity, and the hunt had begun. Jack stood with Amy in Europa Base's command center, watching as reports of more missing ships and outposts flooded in. The aliens, now designated as collectors based on their behavior, had returned with more ships. They were systematically targeting human settlements, taking people and resources. They see us as prey, Jack said, his hands clenched into fists. Just another species to hunt. Amy looked at the star map showing the spreading pattern of attacks. They don't know humans very well then. No, Jack agreed, his expression hardening with resolve. They don't, but they're going to learn. 6 months passed since first contact with the collectors. Humanity had learned much in that time, all of it grim. Commander Jack Morris, promoted after his quick thinking saved lives during the first encounter, walked through the busy command center of the newly established Defense Station Alpha, orbiting Earth. Screens displayed the location of known collector ships and the growing list of attacked colonies. Commander Morris, called a voice behind him. The latest intelligence briefing is ready. Jack nodded to the young officer. Thank you, Kelly. The briefing room was already full when Jack arrived. Military officers and scientists sat around a large table, their faces showing the strain of 6 months of continuous losses. Dr. Amy Wood stood at the front of the room, her once neat appearance now marked by dark circles under her eyes and hastily tied back hair. Let's begin, she said as Jack took his seat. As of today, we have confirmed that the species we're calling collectors have hit 23 human outposts. They've taken an estimated 15,000 people and stripped these locations of resources. She displayed images on the main screen, showing the strange ships that now haunted humanity's nightmares. Based on survivor accounts and our analysis, we've learned that the collectors are nomadic hunters. They travel between star systems harvesting useful species and resources. This isn't their first hunt, and we're certainly not their first victims. Jack leaned forward. What about their technology? Any weaknesses? Amy shook her head. Their ships can create artificial wormholes, allowing them to appear anywhere in our system without warning. Their weapon systems can disable our vessels in seconds, and they have some kind of scanning technology that lets them find even our most hidden outposts. A general slammed his fist on the table. So they're invincible? No, Amy replied firmly. Not invincible, just far ahead of us technologically. We've recovered some materials from abandoned collector sites. They're biological beings, not machines. They breathe, they bleed. She pulled up new images showing blurry pictures of the aliens themselves, captured from security footage before colonies went dark. The collectors stood nearly 7 feet tall with gray-green skin and elongated limbs. Their heads featured no visible eyes, but instead a series of sensory pits that wrapped around where eyes would be on a human. They have a society based entirely around hunting. The more powerful hunters earn status by capturing the most challenging prey, and from what we can tell, they've begun to view humans as worthy prey. Jack stood up and moved to Amy's side. That's our one advantage. They're not trying to wipe us out, they're hunting us, and hunters have rules. He pointed to the map showing collector attack patterns. They hit isolated targets first. They avoid our main military installations. And they take only a portion of each colony they raid. Great, the general muttered. So they're farming us. No, Jack said. They're sports hunting. And that gives us time to learn and adapt. A scientist raised her hand. We've analyzed the tags found on returned survivors. The collectors appear to be studying us, determining which of us would make good trophies and which aren't worth taking. Murmurs of disgust filled the room. Amy continued. The survivors report being treated like animals. They were examined, tagged, and either taken or left behind based on criteria we don't fully understand yet. Jack pulled up footage from a recent attack on a mining colony near Saturn. Look at their hunting pattern. They disable communications first, then power. They use non-lethal weapons when possible. They want live captures. The room fell silent as they watched the collectors methodically round up colonists, examining each one before taking some and leaving others. One more thing, Amy added quietly. We've discovered that this isn't random. The collectors have been observing humanity for years, possibly decades. They've been studying us before deciding to hunt us. Jack pointed to a star chart. We've managed to track some of their wormhole signatures. They have hunting grounds spanning at least 12 star systems that we know of. Earth is just their newest hunting preserve. The general stood up. So what's our plan, Commander? We can't just keep playing defense. We don't, Jack said firmly. I'm forming specialized reconnaissance teams to gather intelligence on collector activities. We need to understand their patterns, their weaknesses, their home base, if they have one. Amy nodded. Meanwhile, my team will continue studying their biology and technology. The specimens and materials we've recovered might give us the edge we need. The briefing ended, and Jack found Amy in her lab later that evening. She was examining tissue samples from a collector who had been killed during a particularly fierce colony defense. Any breakthroughs? Jack asked. Amy looked up from her microscope. Maybe. Their cellular structure is fascinating. They've evolved to be perfect predators, enhanced senses, incredible strength, and remarkable healing abilities. Jack leaned against her workbench. But they can die. Yes, Amy confirmed. They can die. And more importantly, I think they fear death. The few we've killed weren't expecting resistance. Jack smiled for the first time in months. Good. Fear is something we can use. The next week, Jack led his new reconnaissance team on their first mission. Their ship, the Swift, was designed for stealth rather than combat. Its black hull absorbed sensor readings and its engines were modified to leave minimal energy signatures. Our mission is observation only, Jack told his team of 8 specialists. We find a collector ship, we track it, we learn its patterns. No engagement unless absolutely necessary. They departed Earth's orbit under cover of a sensor blackout created by Defense Station Alpha. For 3 weeks they patrolled the outer solar system, waiting. Their patience was rewarded when sensors detected a wormhole opening near Titan. A single collector vessel emerged and began scanning the moon's surface. Perfect, Jack whispered. They don't know we're here. Keep us in Titan's shadow and record everything. For 2 days they observed as the collectors methodically raided a small research station. Jack's team documented every tactic, every technology used. Most valuable of all, they managed to place a small tracker on the hull of the collector ship just before it created another wormhole and disappeared. We did it, Jack's pilot said excitedly. We can track them now. Jack nodded, his expression grim but determined. Yes, and next time we'll be waiting for them. When they returned to Earth, Amy met them at the landing bay. We've had a breakthrough, she said, pulling Jack aside. We found something in their tissue samples. They have a unique cellular response to certain radiation frequencies. A weakness? Jack asked. Amy smiled. Yes, a very specific weakness. Their sensory organs, the things they use to hunt, can be overloaded. For the first time since the collectors arrived, Jack felt a spark of real hope. So the hunters have a blind spot. Exactly, Amy said. And I think we can use it against them. In the command center, they watched as the tracker they'd placed showed the collector ship moving between star systems. Another dot appeared on the map, then another. How many are there? Someone whispered. Jack's jaw set in determination. Doesn't matter how many. They've spent centuries hunting other species across the stars, but they've never hunted humans before. Amy looked at the expanding map of collector activity. And they're about to learn that was a mistake. 2 years had passed since the collectors first appeared in Earth's solar system. The war, if it could be called that, was not going well for humanity. One by one, outer colonies fell. Earth's military forces fought bravely but were consistently outmatched by collector technology. Commander Jack Morris stood on the bridge of his new ship, the Stalker. It was the first vessel built specifically to combat the collectors, incorporating what little alien technology humans had managed to reverse engineer. Commander, we're approaching the coordinates, his navigator reported. Jack nodded. Take us in slowly. Minimal power signatures. The Stalker had been tracking a damaged collector vessel for 3 days. The alien ship had been hit during a rare, successful defense of a Mars mining outpost. Now it drifted, seemingly abandoned near the orbit of Neptune. Any life signs? Jack asked. None we can detect, replied Susan, his sensor officer. But their hull material blocks most of our scans. Jack made his decision. Prepare boarding teams. I want to know what's inside that ship. As the boarding teams prepared, Jack received an unexpected message. Commander, we're being hailed by an incoming Earth vessel. The screen lit up with the face of Dr. Amy Woods. 2 years of war had hardened her. Her hair was now cut short in a practical style, and a thin scar ran along her left cheek from a close encounter with a collector raid. Jack, she said, don't board that ship until we arrive. Amy, what are you doing out here? My research team detected unusual energy readings from that collector vessel. We think it might be a trap. Jack frowned. We've scanned it thoroughly. It's dead in space. Trust me, Amy insisted. Wait 4 hours. We'll be there. 4 hours later, Amy's research vessel docked with the Stalker. She brought with her new scanning equipment and a team of scientists. Good to see you, Jack said as they met in the ship's conference room. It's been, 6 months? Amy nodded. Since the Titan defense. You look tired. We all are, Jack replied. So what's so special about this collector ship? Amy activated a holographic display. We've been working on detecting the specific energy signature collectors use to create their wormholes. This ship is still generating a low-level version of that energy. Jack's eyes widened. You think they left it as bait? Maybe, Amy said. Or maybe there's something valuable inside. Either way, I need to be there when we board it. Jack didn't like it, but he knew better than to argue. Amy had become Earth's foremost expert on collector biology and technology. If anyone could make sense of what they found, it was her. The boarding party consisted of Jack, Amy, and 10 specially trained soldiers. They wore suits designed to protect against the biological weapons Amy had developed based on her research. The inside of the collector ship was unlike anything they had encountered before. Organic materials blended seamlessly with mechanical components. The corridors pulsed with dim light that seemed to flow through the walls like blood through veins. It's partly alive, Amy whispered, scanning the walls. The ship itself is a biological entity. They moved deeper, finding what appeared to be control rooms and living quarters. The collectors themselves were gone, but they had left behind evidence of their existence. Jack, Amy called from a large chamber. You need to see this. Jack entered and froze. The room was filled with transparent containers, each holding a preserved specimen from what must have been dozens of different alien species. Some looked almost human, with 2 arms and 2 legs. Others were entirely different, Creatures with multiple limbs, unusual body structures, features no human had ever imagined. These are their trophies, Amy said quietly. Each one is a representative of a species they've hunted, one of the soldiers called from another room. Commander, Doctor, there's some kind of database here. They rushed to find a terminal still active, displaying symbols that scrolled continuously across a screen, made of the same organic mechanical material as the rest of the ship. Amy connected her translation device, a product of 2 years of studying, collector communications. I can make out some of this. It's a hunting record. She worked quickly, downloading as much data as she could. These are records of their hunts across multiple star systems. Dates, locations, species captured. It goes back hundreds of years. Jack studied the alien symbols. Can you find anything about us, about humans? Amy scrolled through the data until she found what looked like recent entries. Here, this is about Earth. They call us, the closest translation would be, clever prey. Clever prey, Jack repeated. At least they acknowledge we're giving them some trouble. Amy continued reading. According to this, they've categorized us as worthy of extended hunting. They don't plan to take us all at once. They're enjoying the hunt. Jack's expression darkened. They're treating us like some kind of game animals. That's exactly what they're doing, Amy confirmed. But they've also noted that we're more resourceful than expected. We've caused them more losses than they anticipated. A sudden alarm from Amy's scanner interrupted them. The energy signature is increasing. We need to leave, now. They rushed back to their ship, barely making it before the collector vessel began to power up. As they watched from a safe distance, a wormhole formed, and the ship disappeared. They could have trapped us, Jack said. Why didn't they? Amy was already reviewing the data she'd downloaded. Because we're not worth it yet. According to this, they have a hierarchy of hunters. Only the elites get to capture the most dangerous prey. We're still considered practice. Back on the Stalker, Amy spread out her findings for Jack and his officers. I've made 2 critical discoveries. First, their biology is extremely sensitive to a very specific radiation frequency. It affects their sensory organs, essentially blinds them temporarily. Jack leaned forward. That could give us an advantage in combat. Exactly, Amy agreed. Second, I've found coordinates, lots of them. Some appear to be supply depots. Others might be additional hunting grounds. Or their homeworld, Jack suggested. Amy nodded. Possibly. As they discussed the findings, a message came through from Earth Command. Admiral Paul Lewis, the recently appointed head of Earth's defense forces, appeared on screen. Commander Morris, Dr. Woods. I understand you've recovered valuable intelligence. Yes, Admiral, Jack replied. Dr. Woods has made significant breakthroughs. The Admiral's expression remained grim. Good, because we need every advantage. The collectors hit 3 more colonies yesterday, but they made a mistake. What mistake? Amy asked. They took a ship with experimental FTL communications. We received a transmission from inside a collector vessel. Live footage of what happens to their captives. The Admiral sent the footage. Jack and Amy watched in horror as humans were processed. Like livestock, examined, sorted, some placed in preservation chambers similar to the trophy room they had just seen. This ends now, the Admiral said firmly. I'm implementing Operation Nemesis. We're done playing defense. From now on, we hunt the hunters. Jack exchanged looks with Amy. What exactly does that mean, sir? It means we're forming specialized hunting squads, Commander, and I want you to lead the flagship team. Dr. Woods will provide the technological edge with her research. After the call ended, Jack stood at the viewport staring out at the stars. Hunting the hunters. Do you think we can actually do it? Amy joined him, her face determined. They've spent centuries perfecting the art of hunting other species, but they've never faced humans before. And what makes us different? Jack asked. Amy's eyes hardened. Other species ran and hid. We're going to fight back. They've been the apex predators for too long. It's time they learned what it feels like to be prey. The USS Vengeance drifted silently through space, its black hull designed to absorb rather than reflect light. The ship was humanity's newest weapon, built specifically for one purpose: hunting collectors. Fleet Commander Jack Morris stood on the bridge, watching as his crew prepared for their 5th mission. 6 months had passed since the start of Operation Nemesis, and the tide of war was beginning to turn. "Status report," Jack ordered. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Olivia Carter, responded quickly. "All systems nominal, Commander. Stealth systems, operating at peak efficiency. Weapons primed." Jack nodded. "And our new toys?" Olivia smiled slightly. "Dr. Wood's radiation emitters are installed and calibrated. The boarding teams have the new biological weapons loaded and ready." "Good. Set course for the coordinates." The Vengeance moved through space with barely a whisper from its engines. Unlike the bulky warships Earth had initially sent against the collectors, this vessel was sleek and predatory. Its design incorporated reverse-engineered collector technology, allowing it to track the aliens through the very wormholes they used to escape. In her laboratory aboard the Vengeance, Dr. Amy Woods made final adjustments to her latest creation. The small device in her hands pulsed with a soft blue light. "Will it work?" asked Sam Kelly, one of her assistants. Amy carefully sealed the device in a protective case. "It should. Their biology is particularly sensitive to this radiation frequency. It won't kill them, but it will disrupt their sensory organs enough to give our teams the advantage." A voice came over the intercom. "Dr. Woods, Commander Morris requests your presence on the bridge." When Amy arrived, Jack was studying a holographic display of an unfamiliar star system. "We've tracked a collector harvesting ship to this location," he explained. "It's not in any of our star charts." Amy examined the display. "Another hunting ground?" "Yes, but this one's different." Jack enhanced the image of a small blue-green planet. "There's an indigenous population, pre-spaceflight civilization, and the collectors are harvesting them right now." Amy's eyes widened. "We've never caught them in the act before." "Exactly." Jack's expression was determined. "This is our chance to hit them where it hurts and maybe save another species in the process." The plan was simple, but dangerous. The Vengeance would use its stealth technology to approach the collector ship undetected. They would deploy Amy's radiation emitters to blind the collector's sensory systems, then launch a direct assault. As they approached the planet, they saw the collector vessel hovering above a continent, energy beams extending down to the surface. "They're using collection nets," Amy observed. "Just like they did on our colonies." Jack turned to his communications officer. "Any response from the planet?" "Yes, sir. Primitive radio signals. They're in a state of panic." Jack made his decision. "Launch the emitters. Prepare boarding teams. We take that ship intact if possible." The small radiation devices detached from the Vengeance, speeding toward the collector vessel. When they reached their target, they attached to the hull and activated, sending pulses of precisely calibrated radiation through the ship. The effect was immediate. The collection beams faltered. The collector ship began to move erratically as if suddenly blinded. "It's working," Amy said, watching the sensors. "Their internal communications are disrupted. They can't coordinate their defenses." Jack stood. "Now we board. Alpha team with me. Dr. Woods coordinate from here." The boarding team launched from the Vengeance, crossing the short distance to the collector vessel. Using cutting tools designed specifically for collector hull material, they created an entry point and pushed inside. What they found was chaos. The tall, gray-green aliens stumbled through their own corridors, their sensory pits flashing with distress signals. Unable to see or communicate effectively, they were vulnerable for the first time. Jack led his team deeper into the ship, using Amy's biological weapons to incapacitate any collectors they encountered. Unlike the aliens, humans took no trophies, instead securing prisoners for study. In the ship's central chamber, they found dozens of translucent pods containing captured aliens from the planet below. The creatures were reptilian in appearance, with scaled skin and large, intelligent eyes. "Get these pods disconnected and ready for transport," Jack ordered, "and find their control systems. We're taking this ship." One of the collectors, larger than the others and wearing what appeared to be ceremonial armor, charged at Jack despite being partially blinded. Jack fired his weapon, but the collector kept coming, knocking him to the ground. As the alien raised a blade-like appendage, ready to strike, a beam of intense radiation hit it directly in the sensory pits. The collector shrieked and collapsed. Jack looked up to see Amy standing in the doorway, holding one of her radiation devices. "I thought you were coordinating from the ship," he said, getting to his feet. Amy smiled grimly. "Changed my mind. Thought you might need help with the big one." The collector ship was secured within hours. Earth had captured its first fully functional alien vessel, complete with wormhole technology. But more importantly, they had saved hundreds of the planet's indigenous species from becoming trophies, or worse. When the rescued aliens recovered consciousness, their reaction surprised everyone. Instead of fear, they showed curiosity and then gratitude. Through basic image-based communication, Amy learned they called themselves the Vorth. "They understand what happened," she told Jack as they watched the Vorth communicate among themselves. "They know we saved them from the collectors." Jack nodded. "Can they help us fight?" Amy studied the Vorth. "They're not as technologically advanced as we are, but they've been fighting the collectors for generations. They have knowledge we could use." Over the next few days, a remarkable alliance formed. The Vorth, through increasingly sophisticated translation efforts, shared everything they knew about the collectors. In return, humanity provided protection and technology. "They say there are other species," Amy reported after a lengthy session with the Vorth leaders. "Other worlds that have been hunted by the collectors, some for centuries." Jack considered this information. "That means potential allies. We're not alone in this fight." Word of the victory spread quickly through Earth's forces. For the first time, humans had not just defended but had actively hunted the collectors. The psychological impact was enormous. Admiral Lewis contacted the Vengeance personally. "Outstanding work, Commander. This changes everything." "Yes, sir," Jack agreed. "But it's just the beginning." "Indeed." The Admiral's face was serious. "Based on data recovered from the captured ship, we've identified several more hunting grounds. And something else. Coordinates that might lead to a major collector base." Jack and Amy exchanged glances. "A base, sir?" "Yes. Possibly their main staging area in this sector of the galaxy." The Admiral paused. "I'm authorizing a multi-ship assault force. The Vengeance will lead with the Vorth providing support." After the transmission ended, Jack stood at the viewport watching as the Vorth were transported to their home planet, many bringing with them Earth technology and weapons. "The hunters hunted," Amy said, joining him. "They never expected this." Jack's expression was determined. "No. They thought we were just another species to be collected and displayed. They didn't realize that humans fight back." Amy looked at the star map showing their next target. "And we're just getting started." A great fleet gathered in the shadow of Jupiter. 20 Earth warships, 5 Vorth battle cruisers, and vessels from 3 other species that had joined the fight against the collectors. This unlikely alliance called itself the Galactic Defense Coalition, and Fleet Commander Jack Morris was its military leader. From the bridge of the Vengeance, Jack watched as the final preparations were made for Operation Final Hunt. After 3 years of war, humanity had transformed from prey to predator. Now they were ready to take the fight directly to the collector homeworld. "All ships report ready, Commander," Lieutenant Carter said. Jack nodded. "Send the signal. We jump in 5 minutes." Dr. Amy Woods joined him on the bridge. She had become more than a scientist in these years of war. She was now Earth's chief diplomat to the alien species that had joined their cause. "The Vorth captains wish you good hunting," she said. "As do the Kral and the Zenti." Jack smiled slightly. 3 years ago, we didn't know aliens existed. Now, we're leading them into battle." "They've all suffered under the collectors for generations," Amy replied. "We're the first to fight back effectively." The bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency as the fleet prepared to use the wormhole technology stolen from the collectors. Earth scientists, working with their alien allies, had mastered the technology that once made the collectors unstoppable. 1 minute to jump, announced the navigation officer. Jack turned to address his crew. For 3 years, the collectors have hunted across our worlds. They've taken our people as trophies. Today, we end their reign as the galaxy's apex predators. Wormhole opened, a swirling vortex of energy large enough to accommodate the entire fleet. One by one, the ships entered, emerging light years away in orbit around a massive ringed planet. The collector homeworld. It was not what they had expected. Instead of a planet covered in cities, they found a world of vast wilderness areas separated by small, highly advanced settlements. It was a hunter's world, designed to preserve the primal connection to the hunt. Multiple collector vessels rising to engage, reported the sensor officer. They weren't expecting us. Jack smiled grimly. Now they know how it feels. All ships commence attack pattern Alpha. Target their defense platforms first. The battle began with a flash of weapons fire from both sides. The Coalition fleet had surprise on their side, but the collectors had home field advantage and numerous defensive installations. Collector flagship identified, called out the sensor officer. It's 3 times the size of anything we've encountered before. Jack studied the massive vessel on the view screen. That's our primary target. All ships concentrate fire on their flagship's propulsion systems. The space around the collector world became a storm of energy beams and explosions. Coalition ships moved with practiced precision, implementing tactics developed over 3 years of hard-fought battles. The collectors, for the first time, were fighting defensively. They had never expected their prey to find their homeworld, much less attack it directly. An explosion rocked the Vengeance as a collector beam struck their shields. Shields at 60%, reported the engineering officer. Maintain course, Jack ordered. All power to forward weapons. The Vengeance led a formation of ships directly toward the collector flagship. Their combined firepower finally overwhelmed the larger vessel's shields, disabling its engines. Boarding teams prepare for deployment, Jack said, standing from his command chair. I'll lead the assault myself, Amy stepped forward. I'm coming too. Jack started to protest but saw the determination in her eyes. Very well. Lieutenant Carter, you have the bridge. The boarding shuttles launched from the Vengeance, racing toward the crippled collector flagship while the battle raged around them. Using the radiation emitters Amy had perfected, they were able to blind the collector defenses long enough to breach the hull. Inside, they found the ship in disarray. The collectors had never faced an enemy aboard their flagship before. This way, Amy said, following readings on her device. The ship's central chamber should be ahead. They fought their way through the corridors, facing increasingly fierce resistance. The collectors they encountered were larger and more heavily armored than any they had seen before, the elites of their society. Finally, they reached massive doors marked with symbols of authority. Jack's team placed breaching charges and blew the doors open. Inside was a vast chamber, and at its center sat the largest collector they had ever seen. The Supreme Elder was nearly 10 feet tall, with ceremonial scars covering its gray-green skin and elaborate armor adorning its body. So, the Elder spoke in a deep, rumbling voice. The clever prey has found our home. Jack was momentarily stunned that the alien spoke English. We've studied you for years, the Elder continued. Learned your languages, your behaviors, your weaknesses. You were to be our greatest hunt in centuries. Amy stepped forward. And instead we hunted you. The Elder made a sound that might have been laughter. Yes, unexpected, impressive. In all our millennia of hunting, only 2 other species have ever reached our world. This ends today, Jack said firmly. The hunting stops. The Elder stood, towering over them. You think we hunt for sport alone? For trophies? No. We hunt because we must. Because we too were once prey. Amy's scientific curiosity was piqued despite the danger. What do you mean? Long ago, our people were hunted to near extinction by a species long since gone from this galaxy. We survived by becoming better hunters than our pursuers. We evolved, adapted, and eventually prevailed. The elder stepped down from its raised platform. We continued to hunt because we feared becoming prey again. Each species we collected strengthened our understanding of potential threats. Jack kept his weapon trained on the elder. That doesn't justify what you've done. Perhaps not to you, the elder replied. But understand this. In challenging us, in hunting us, you have proven yourselves worthy of respect, not collection. Beyond the chamber's windows, they could see the battle turning decisively in favor of the coalition forces. The collector fleet was in retreat, their defensive stations disabled or destroyed. Your people can surrender, Jack said, or we'll continue this battle to the end. The elder was silent for a long moment. For the first time in thousands of years, the collectors must consider surrender. An interesting development. Amy approached, cautiously. It doesn't have to be surrender. It could be peace, an end to hunting sentient species. The elder's sensory pits pulsed with colors they had never seen before. Perhaps adaptation is once again required for survival. The message went out from the elder's chamber to all collector ships. Stand down. The hunting was over. In the months that followed, a fragile peace took hold. The coalition established monitoring stations around the collector homeworld to ensure compliance with the terms of their surrender. Thousands of captive beings from dozens of species were freed from collector trophy chambers and holding facilities. Jack and Amy stood together in Earth's memorial garden, dedicated to those lost in the conflict. Monuments represented not only human victims but all species that had suffered under the collector's reign of terror. Do you think they've really changed? Amy asked. Or are they just waiting for another chance? Jack looked up at the stars, now filled with allies instead of enemies. I don't know. But they've learned what it means to be hunted. That's a lesson that's hard to forget. A young Vorth approached them wearing the uniform of the Coalition Diplomatic Corps. Commander Morris, Dr. Woods, the council meeting is about to begin. As they walked toward the new Galactic Coalition headquarters, Amy smiled. 3 years ago, we didn't know we weren't alone in the universe. Jack nodded. And now we're helping build something that spans dozens of worlds. The collectors wanted to treat us as prey, Amy said. Instead, we showed them and everyone else in the galaxy something far more important. What's that? Jack asked. Amy looked at the diverse group of species working together in the council chamber ahead. That the best response to a predator isn't to become better prey. It's to build something so strong that no one dares to hunt again.